Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My daughter, Alex.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. If you didn't know we were mother and daughter, you know now because we are basically twinning today.
Right. And I mentioned the Bobbsey twins, and she had no clue who the Bobbsey twins.
If you know who the Bobbsey twins are, leave a comment and tell me because I don't know. But I like the name, the word Bobbsey.
Well, that shows my age, I guess. So, anyway. Okay, so what are we up to this month?
Well, if you haven't heard of our So Confident Club program, you should join right now. So tomorrow is June, and our June project is the Whistles dress.
Not the whistles.
Oh. Sorry, we're talking a lot about shirts today, so I'm mixing up all the patterns. The Edgewater dress. Edgewater dress, we developed this pattern as a skirt and a dress. It's a digital pattern. Both the dress and the skirt come in the pattern. And so for this month, for the month of June, we're launching this as an online workshop. So our online workshops are amazing opportunities to learn firsthand from Linda via video, really well done professional videos. The classes range from anywhere from like 45 minutes to over an hour, and she'll teach you step by step how to make our garments. So for the Edgewater dress, this is a knit dress. So you're going to learn how to put in a knit sleeve. You're going to learn how to do our kind of famous neck binding technique. We have kits in this dress. So this is the teal option, and we have kind of paneled looks here. So contrasting colors for the bottom band, and then this side piece. This is what fabric?
It's a cotton broadcloth. So we're combining a woven with a knit.
And this is a side dart here, so you're going to learn that technique too.
And we've got how many kits? Colors of kits?
4.
Yeah. We've got a fuchsia red combo, a gold green combo, and a black and white combo. So the kits are available online.
They are.
And we're excited about this. The skirt was the May project, and that was in the black and white stripe. I think we still have a few of those kits left. But get your kit ordered, and tomorrow, what are they going to get?
If you purchase the online workshop and you want to pay for this month's class, it's $49.99. You get access to the online workshop, which will release on Friday. The first Friday of the month is when all the videos release. You also get access to a Q&A session with Linda. So as you work through the project, if you have any questions, the Zooms are a way to ask Linda anything you want about the project.
We talk about a lot of things on those, actually. We get a little off topic sometimes, but it's fine.
Yeah, I'm in there too, so we just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. It's kind of fun. And then the pattern does not come with the online workshop, and the kit does not come with the online workshop. So those are 2 separate purchases. So you'll also buy the digital pattern, and you'll buy the kit. So grab your kit, grab the pattern, and grab the online workshop.
Right. So we had a question about the Q&A last month, which maybe you can explain what's going to happen. Every time we do a Q&A, Alex puts together a slideshow of the work from all of you. And it was a really great presentation this last time. And those of you who don't watch the Q&A live but watch it later, we're gonna figure out how to get that slideshow to you. It's probably going to just land as a independent feature in their account or something like that. So don't fear, you're going to be able to see it, but it's not included in the actual taping or a recording of the Q&A, right? Yeah. So Alex manages all the communication with all of you, so I always have to say, what are you doing? All right. Well, Samantha Plow was here a couple months ago.
I've never heard her last name said.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Plotch.
Nope, it's Plow. It's spelled Plotch.
All right. Hi, Samantha. Now I know how to say your last name.
Yeah. But she was here, and as many of you know, Samantha is really good about seeking out really interesting designers to follow. And she introduced you, and then both of you to me, this new designer by the name of Libertine. We're not really sure how it's pronounced. And we all got excited about making shirts out of really fine shirtings. So Samantha had some great ideas, you had some great ideas. So we decided to put it all together. Samantha's not here, we're so sorry. But someday you'll see whatever she came up with. Anyway, so we got all excited about, in particular, these images. So I liked this one. And this is by Libertine, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I took a look at this and thought to myself, well, what pattern do we have that looks like this? And so I chose to use the Whistle shirt because mostly of the collar and the basic shape of the garment. Oversized shirt, the shoulder seam is off of the shoulder, kind of a loose fitting shirt. And I decided to use that. So you,
Samantha and I were also looking just through their website and we came across this one. So you see every piece of the pattern is a different shirting, a different color. So I got very inspired by this and thought, well, why don't I combine all of the shirtings we have? And that's essentially the inspiration for what I'm wearing. So I took the Florence shirt and we'll tell you a little bit more about what I did. But these are the inspirations for today. Libertine is an LA-based designer. I think he's been around since like the early 2000s. He has men's, women's, and unisex clothing. So really all of the clothing you see if you go to the website is ilovelibertine.com.
yeah.
And you know, it's a lot of like embellished things, as you noticed on those pictures. Features of those garments include screen printing. If you look even more detail on the website, there's a lot of embroidery, there's sequins, so really interesting details with those shirts. So it wasn't just kind of your basic, they were kind of your basic shirts, like what you're seeing with like the Florence or the Whistles, but kind of taking it to the next level with the different features that are on it.
Well, then Betsy got all involved with this. So Betsy took the same Florence shirt. Let's show, I guess we should show a Florence shirt in its original form. Yeah. So here's the Florence, which has a collar and stand, front button, obviously, this cute little pocket that's curved on one side, and it has this tuck right here that only goes partially across the front, so it creates this uneven hemline, and a pretty standard vent and cuff. And it also has, in the pattern, a yoke and this back placket with buttons. All right, so Betsy.
Fun fact about the Florence, I've always really loved the pattern cover of this one. This is probably my favorite pattern cover. Because it's kind of like the hair is red hair, and it's like a swoopy red hair look, and it's a green shirt. I always like that.
Yeah, it is a good looking illustration. Our illustrator is in New York, and she's done our illustrations for 30 plus years, Judy Francis, and she is amazing.
Yeah, Erin kind of manages the looks or colors or hairstyles,
yeah.
So she sort of oversees that. But this has been around for a while. You've had this pattern.
Yeah, it's been around for a while,
but I've always liked it.
It's actually, even though it has these elements to it, you're going to see how you can change it. But just as a side note, Kansas State University uses this pattern in their beginning construction class, where they have to make a shirt, and because there aren't very many traditional shirt patterns out there to buy. So you can turn this into a more traditional shirt.
Which is what you're going to see what I did.
Exactly. But Betsy turned it into a dress. And I think, I mean, you would look at this and think, I wonder what pattern that is. But she was inspired by watching season 4 of Killing Eve.
I have not seen it, but I've heard amazing things.
Yeah, apparently it's something to watch because the costumes are fantastic. And one of the, who is Caroline, who's in Killing Eve, is wearing a dress, this dress, by Evie Grintella, and in fact, the brand is called Evie Grintella, the shirt dress. So if you go to this website, Evie Grintella, Grintella, you will see that the website is just full of incredible dresses, mostly made out of Swiss and Italian cottons, voile, silk. But she took this image from that show and made this dress out of a blue and white cotton shirting.
I would like everyone to note the pineapple and strawberry buttons.
Yes. Oh, I love the idea of the gold buttons on this. You know, we don't think about using metal buttons very often. And I love that little pop of shine on this. You know, this is considered sort of a basic fabric, basic shirting fabric, but to put it into this design and add those buttons and the roll-up sleeve and the tab is brilliant, I think. So all she's done really is lengthen it and straighten it out, eliminated the tuck, eliminated the pocket, eliminated the cuff and vent. She eliminated all the, she made it a lot simpler. Yeah. And she added, well, she kept the yoke and deleted the band in the back and then put a belt across it to just cinch it in a little bit. Because this original dress is pretty cinched in at the waist, actually. But I think this is so cute. The shirtings that we're using, we get from a company that provides shirtings for really high-end shirting companies like Burberry. So they're really fine, beautiful cottons, smooth and rich, and they're woven. These are not printed stripes, they're woven stripes. That's what differentiates a shirting from like a striped fabric. So anyway, I think this is just fantastic. Now, I haven't seen it on her yet, but I'm sure we will.
If you go back a couple weeks, when I was here last, Erin and I did a Facebook Live on spring, summer, street style, more so spring. But even going into summer, if you think back about that presentation we showed, we talked about stripes, how stripes were really popular for summer trends. Yeah. Also even just summer shirting. So a simple summer shirt dress, a simple shirt, that's kind of what you're seeing here. So suiting, trousers, pairing it with a shirt, pairing it with kind of an oversized jacket. So
yeah. So thank you, Betsy. I think this is wonderful. So let's talk about yours.
Yeah, so going back to some of the pictures, I had a couple other pictures of Libertine shirts I wanted to show. Again, just to get a little more perspective on that brand and some of the inspirations of things I saw with Samantha. So here is a simple white shirt, again with those like embellished pieces. Here's another one, a shorter version with the eyes screen printed. And then here's another one with some writing. So as Samantha and I were kind of perusing through different looks and different things, like I said, I kind of landed on this one that had all different fabrics. So we're going to talk about what we did to the Florence to make this happen, but isn't it fun? I love it.
So we had every intention of embellishing our shirts.
We really did.
We were going to either stamp or print or embroider, and we chickened out. Because you
chickened out. I had to learn precision sewing. Shirting took a long. Shirting is precision sewing at its finest.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's true.
So, you know, the techniques in this shirt and all the things that I learned through making this.
Yeah. So we started with some pattern work. And what did we do to your pattern?
For the alterations that were made, the tuck was removed.
Yeah.
For the back, I made the back a single piece, so I combined the yoke with the back, and I did not include this back button detail. I have very broad shoulders, so we did a broad back adjustment. And what am I missing?
That's it.
That's it. So
for the pattern work, broad back adjustment. Well, the hem, the shirt tail hem. Yeah. So it's curved, and I believe that we took the hemline from the Belle's shirt pattern, which is also in the same pattern as the whistles, and copied that.
We did. Yeah. So it's not lengthened or anything. It just, by removing the tuck, it
lengthens the front, and then curve the hem. Yeah.
And it was fun. I really ended up copying that picture when it came to putting the fabrics in place. So I picked up this blue stripe and this kind of purple gingham with another, you know, the sleeves are all different, the cuffs are different, the collar is different. So the other fun part of this project was just mixing shirtings. It wasn't just one solid fabric.
So tell them about how the front came about, the front band.
So I was sewing this week, and because we took out the tuck and changed the hemline, when I was laying out this pattern piece, I wanted it to be completely white, just like the original Libertine shirt. Well, when I put it against the piece to sew it together, I noticed that this front piece was about 4 inches too short.
Yeah.
So
half the length of the tuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not realizing that I should have lengthened the pattern piece because we removed that tuck.
Right.
So I could have cut out a whole new white strip here for both sides. I didn't do that. I decided to use the scraps of my shirting fabrics to kind of piece together an additional 4 inches for both pieces. So, which made it kind of fun. I wasn't planning on this, but it was kind of one of those things that happens when you're at the sewing machine and when you're putting things together. You had to kind of learn on the fly. But kind of in hindsight, maybe it would have just been easier to cut out a new white strip. But
True.
I didn't. But, you know, those are kind of the fun details you can add that makes the shirts what they are.
So what was the biggest challenge for you sewing this?
Well, putting on a collar and stand is like a staple for any sewer, any seamstress. So what is Linda Lee? What did she teach me through this process? She has a great technique. This is a little template. This is the actual Florence stand template. She gave me some manila
A
file folder, and we cut this out from the pattern piece. So we traced essentially 5/8 inch from the pattern piece and mocked that curve, which is the stand curve. So when you're sewing it, that's what you end up marking here on the front, and you're marking it, so then you essentially go in with a pen once it's marked to trace that curve, and that is the line that you end up sewing on. So this saved the day for both sides. So
yeah, it's really hard to get the two curves of stand exactly the same if you're just free sewing it, because you're coming at it from two different directions and it's on the bias a little bit. So it's much easier to have a line to follow than try to keep a 5/8 inch seam allowance along the edge. So that's, and this is
plus you're not sewing it blind. You have that line that you've drawn that really follows the actual piece.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, with shirts, it's precision sewing, so there were really an endless amount of techniques I kind of relearned in the process. And
well, there really are about 3 tutorials, even 4 actually, that we have that are going to be on sale that kind of relate to shirt sewing. So we have a collars and stand tutorial that has 2 different techniques actually for putting a collar and stand on. We have one called 5 narrow hems, and so Alex learned how to do the shirt tail hem, and the secret on that is
you sew a 3/8 inch line,
stay stitch line,
across the entire hem, and then that's what you fold up in order to allow for you to really know what you're sewing for.
So you press that using that stitching line as your guide for pressing against. It's like a little fence. And then you don't, and then you fold it again, but you don't press that. You fold, we call it fold as you sew. So you've got your needle down and you've got some tension on the hem and you're folding it and you're stitching just a few inches at a time. And so it's very hard to press an even 3/8 of an inch twice. So you learned how to do that.
I did.
And then we have a tutorial on sleeve vents. So you learned how to do vents and cuffs and all of that. So there were several tutorials that we got to refer to sew this. But I think you did a great job. I think it's really, really cute.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another tutorial for sale called The Anatomy of a Sleeve.
Right, and that's all about setting in a sleeve in a woven. And that goes back to the old tailoring days. You know, if you've ever had a tailoring class, you know that you pre-shape a sleeve first. You do a line of basting stitches across the sleeve head, and then you shape that over the top of a hem give it a steam. So you know right away there are no buckles or puckers in that sleeve. And then the pinning it in is you pin it over your finger and create the ease as you're pinning it. So everything's in place before you even try to sew the sleeve in. So those 4 tutorials basically relate to shirts, particularly this one, because this has all the standard elements of a real shirt. So.
And those are on sale, and what's nice about those tutorials is they're just downloadable tutorials. So you purchase it and it goes right into your email when you purchase it. It's a downloadable PDF.
Right, so you can print it off, you can keep it in a notebook. If you're like me, you want hard copies of things, or like her, it would just be on her computer. So, but yeah, it's a PDF form, so it's a slideshow, and you can go at your own pace and look at them just slide by slide and follow the directions really well. Okay. Well, that's you. You're wearing that with?
Oh, yeah. I am wearing it with the Valencia pants.
In the shorter length. There's 2 lengths of the Valencia pants. This is the shorter one. And I love it that Alex can just come in and take something off the rack and put it on, and it looks cute. But you made those quite a while ago, actually.
Yeah, I did. I usually have worn it with just a regular white knit top, like the Olive or the Alex or something. But yeah, Linda inspired me with the pants she's wearing. She made pants yesterday. If you want to ask what we did over the holiday weekend, we were mostly sewing and putting on buttons and making these
well, and you learned how to do
pants.
buttonholes too, didn't you? You hadn't really done buttonholes very often. So, or it'd been a while. Probably.
Been a while. But these pants inspired me. I was just going to wear jeans today, but then I saw what my mom was wearing, and then I tried to like match her shoe game. You know, I can't. No one can. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I am wearing the whistles. And the whistles looks like this if you take it out of the package and just sew it up. And it's called the whistles because it has whistles on it. It has these plackets. There are 3 plackets in the front that overlap one another. But it does have this nice wide collar, which reminded me of the picture that I saw. And a simple sleeve, no cuff, no vent, no stand, no back placket, but there are some whistles on the back. So I thought this shape was pretty similar to what I wanted to achieve in this. So I took the whistles and I decided to put the center front on the fold, basically. And you always know where the center front is because of the placement of the buttons. There are 2 different fronts on this shirt. There's a right front and a left front pattern. And I took the left front and used that and put it on the fold. Then I remember I was here, you were here last week, and I put something on and I decided that this should end right here. I think I pinned it on another garment or the pattern or something and decided that the yoke should end right here. So then I kind of decided where it should end on my shoulders. So I knew where to draw this yoke line on my pattern. Then I used the top part of the pattern, which just says a simple overlapping hem for buttons, and used that as the yoke pieces. Used the regular collar, and then I used a plate to...
I was wondering why you brought that up here.
Yeah. So I needed a shape for my shirt tail hem, and I found this. So I just traced that. This already has an opening, a vent, and so I just simply placed the plate right through that. There are 2 lengths of the whistles. There's a short length and a long length, and this is the long one. And I did shorten that 2 inches. So the long one is short, view A is shortened 2 inches. And then I decided I wanted to have these contrasting cuffs, so I shortened the basic sleeve pattern and then just added some roll-up cuffs. So and then I added this little tab, which I should have made a prairie point. A lot better idea than what I went through. I made about 3 of these, and it would have been a lot easier just to make a prairie point, but I didn't, so I wasn't sharp enough to do that. So I think that's all I did. And then used the inspiration from Libertine, wherever my picture went. And I think I came fairly close. I don't know where the picture went. Has to be here, doesn't it? Here it is. So this is a little more oversized than what mine is, but it's essentially the same thing. I did cut out one of the roses from this fabric and was going to applique that on, and then I decided that wasn't really me, so I didn't do it. But that's where I got the idea for the little tab and the contrasting sleeves. Now this fabric is from Liberty. This is not a traditional shirting fabric, although it's similar in weight and a really beautiful cotton. So it has a nice feel to it, but it is a Liberty of London fabric, which we carry a lot of. So I am wearing this with pink Hudson pants, our famous viscose linen. And you asked me today how long it took me to make these. By the time I cut it out and sewed it up, it was 2.5 or 3 hours. Nice little Sunday afternoon. I did add the West End pockets, which is part of the So Confident project from February, where we've added pockets to the Hudson pants. So that's part of So Confident February. So
yeah, I love how you landed on pink pants.
Well, I don't know. It just seemed like it needed something more than just white pants, which is where I was going to go with it originally. But I don't know.
So everyone, if you'd like to vote in the comments which shirt you like better.
Oh.
My shirt or Linda's shirt? And we could see who wins.
Well, what we really should ask them is, we're thinking that this should be a pattern. Now, if it hadn't been the holiday weekend, I think we would have written a blog about all this. But we were sidetracked with lots of interesting things this weekend, and so we didn't get that done. We might still do that. So that we can list at least the things that we changed. So look for that in the next few days, perhaps. But we looked at this. I mean, this is essentially the Florence shirt with just a couple of changes. But this has more changes to it than sort of meets the eye. And I'm thinking this could actually be a pattern. So if you like that idea, let us know, either on the Facebook or email us or whatever.
And I think when it comes to sewing shirts, don't be intimidated by all the techniques. Maybe you haven't sewn a collar and stand, or maybe you haven't sewn many. Maybe you haven't done buttonholes and plackets and all these big words. Maybe you're not as familiar. But what's great about these shirts and these patterns and this company is the tutorials. So the tutorials we mentioned, and also the online workshops. We have a couple online workshops that we're featuring here too. So
right. This is the Hibiscus shirt that was part of So Confident Series 10. And these are 2 kits that we had at the time, and we still have a few, not very many, but we have a few. So if you like the Hibiscus shirt and you like these fabric combinations, you can order this kit, and with the kit you get all of these fabrics plus buttons and thread. So this is the blue version with the orange and white check contrast, and this is the black and white, gray and white version with it's red, but it reads as pink when you see the little check like this. So this is
with these shirts, we also sell the online workshops. So these are also for sale this week. For the online workshops, that's when you would actually learn through a video how to do the collar and stand, how to sew the perfect buttonhole, all the kind of specific techniques that you would walk through in making a garment. So that's for sale this week, specifically the Hibiscus shirt.
Right. The other thing that we have this week is we have a few of these kits left. This is the whistles. This was also So Confident Series 10. And we used a fabric that comes in panels. And it's actually a scene that's been painted by an artist and then printed, and it actually goes this way. So in the kit you get 3 of these panels plus buttons and thread, and you can make the whistles or anything out of this.
And this is different than a collar and stand. This is just a flat collar.
Yeah, it's much, it's easier to put on. In fact, there's an interesting way of making this collar. You have you sew just one seam across the back, and then the front part of the collar is sewn after it's attached to the shirt. which is unusual, but it's an easy way to do it. So that's for sale this week. All right. There's another couple other brands of things that we've been looking at. This Evie Grantella is one. This is another one of her shirts. I love that double pocket on that. That's a great idea. So everybody should go to this website. And then there's a company called Rails, R-A-I-L-S, and they do interesting things with mixed stripes. So I think if you Google women's striped shirts, you'll come up with a lot of things.
Well, and even yesterday I was looking through the Wall Street Journal magazine, and there were a few images. Raf Simons did a design of just a kind of oversized women's shirt with different color cuffs and a different color collar,
right,
and a basic stripe. So that was fun.
Yeah.
So you're seeing it around.
I wanted to refer back to your broad back adjustment. That's something that we feature in our fashion fitting workbook on page 42. So if you have this book, you'll learn how to do that. You take this second page, which is a half scale pattern piece, and then you follow the instructions, and you can actually do the process of making the broad back adjustment and paste that little half scale right into your book, so you have a record of what that was like. All right, shall we look at some fabrics? All right. So we've pulled out about 4 Liberty of London fabrics, even though we have a lot more on the website. But these, we only buy the Liberty of London fabrics that are the limited edition collection. We don't buy their standard day-to-day, always have Liberty of London. So when they're gone, because they're usually limited yardage. But we are, I found this out last week, we are one of the larger suppliers of Liberty of London fabrics in the US, which is kind of nice. Cool. Anyway, so here's a great little pink and gray small print. I love this one. This is feels like a carnival to me, with ribbons, and I'm not sure what that is. It's, I don't know.
A little jellyfish.
Is that what it is? Okay.
No, not necessarily. It just reminds me of them.
It is kind of sea-like, isn't it? Something that you would find in the sea, I guess. Anyway, this is a navy blue background with these beautiful colors. Another color variation of this one, which is more of the red poppy color, and then the yellow and pink one that I have in my shirt.
If you look closely at these roses, they're strips,
right,
that have kind of
they've shifted them. Yeah. So like even this one, there's just one little section right there where it's been cut to look like it's been cut and then shifted. So it's not a complete motif. It's much more interesting up close when you really look at it. But these Liberty of Londons are, you know, they're the finest Pima cotton, Egyptian cotton that you can buy on the market, and they're really, really beautiful.
Yeah, very silk-like, very soft.
They feel like silk, actually. So we've pulled out a lot of stripes. You've used this one. I've used this one as well. Betsy used this one. This is the little narrow pinstripe.
I used this on a sleeve. Right? No, sorry. It's over here.
Yeah, right there. Okay. Then there's this aqua color. Now this probably reads as a solid color on the screen, but it's a tiny, tiny little check, a woven check. And it comes off as the, I love it with this because there's this aqua color in here. And then over here we have, this is the one you used on a sleeve, and again this is a little check, a little blue and white check. A little bigger check than the other one. This is the stripe that you used on a sleeve and I used for the front, black and white. This is the lime green, you've used that for the little mini check, green and white. This is your left front, pink and white check. I didn't use that. And this is the one that we actually used in the hibiscus that reads, it's red and white, but it reads as pink. little check, and then the orange and white gingham, which is the largest of the checks. We have one more little check that's a different pink. So we have several pinks, actually. Lavender, pink, more red. But all of these are the same quality shirtings, so they're the same weight and can really easily be used together. All right, do we have any questions?
Would you mind if I get a close-up? That's since we're talking about fabrics.
Sure.
Get a close-up of the prints. Swing around here.
These are a little bit narrower. They are 45 inches wide, so you need to know that. Interestingly enough, the Liberties are wider. They're 54 inches. That's one of the only cottons that you ever see that are wider than the standard 45 inches.
Okay. So there was a question about how do you know if you have a broad back?
Well, if you wear...
Repeat what I said.
Oh, yes.
How do you know if you have a broad back? Like Alex Woodbury.
Yeah. You know because you're wearing clothes and you're going like this and it's binding. Or if you can look in a three-way mirror or have someone take a picture of you and there's a strain across those shoulder blades. Do you feel that in some garments because you're so broad-shouldered? Alex is an ex-swimmer, and you have those big, broad, nice shoulders. Erin has broad back. I have a broad back. You have a broad back. I do a broad back adjustment on most of my garments as well. But it's that strain. You can measure across. You measure basically from side seam to side seam, and you can compare you to the pattern. And you need 3 or 4 inches of ease across there to really feel comfortable.
Do you draw out the design and fabric placement when deciding what to put together?
Do we draw out the design to decide where to put the fabrics? Well,
It was essentially drawn out for us with these pictures, at least for mine. So, you know, visually looking at this, I really, like I said, copied this shirt. So the pink is on this side. I took a blue version of a fabric for the other side, and then I guess my sleeves aren't quite the same, but they have a white sleeve and a blue sleeve, and then a checked cuff and a white band. So, you know, I didn't really have to.
No. But if you want to, I think a good idea is to take the technical drawing that we always provide with our patterns, whether it's printed or digital, and if you have a printer or a copy machine, you can blow that up or not, and then you can begin to draw or color with some colored pencils sections. So if you're working in a sketchbook or a sketch pad, you can draw various renditions of where you would place the fabrics, and that's a good way to kind of check the balance of things. If you're gathering a lot of fabrics, then you can put them in the place where they'll be, sort of, you know, this little pile of fabric here and a pile of fabric here, and you're going to put the collar piece up there, fold that up, and put it in proportion. So you can play around with the fabrics, or you can work in a sketchbook form as well.
How much do we buy of each if we want to mix up the prints and the stripes?
How much did you buy of each if you want to mix up the prints?
So we have, I hope I'm going to say this correctly, for these fabrics up here, we have added the option of being able to buy a half a yard. Have we done that?
We can double check.
Yes.
To make sure.
Yeah. So for the main fabric, you're going to want at least a yard, and maybe even 2 yards of if you're doing a front and back in the same. And then you're going to need a yard of whatever is the longest. But then for these smaller pieces, you're probably going to be able to use half-yard pieces for pockets, cuffs, collars, insertions, yokes, whatever. So we've added that option just for these fabrics. We don't normally sell half-yard pieces, but we were able to do that on our website.
What would you put with the 2 pink Liberty fabrics?
What would you
These
put
two?
with the 2 pink Liberty fabrics?
All right.
These.
So I would do this black and white probably over here as one option. I would put that. I would add this stripe with it. Let's see, how can we do this? Put this over here. Let's put it behind you a minute. There we go. So those look great. I think this one works with it. I'm thinking this works too. Well, so does this.
Probably the other pink as well.
Yeah. I can't reach that
And
far.
if another print,
No, they don't.
I would put the carnival.
Oh,
with
yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So hopefully that gives you an idea.
It's weird how a lot of different things can go together.
Yeah, who would have thought that this would work with this? But I like it a lot with it.
What pattern is the pocket on Alex's shirt?
The pocket on Alex's shirt is the Florence pocket. That's in the pattern.
Did Alex put left over right for buttoning?
How did you know? Wow. Left over, yes.
Yes, she put left over right.
Well, if I unbutton this, you'll see how the layer beneath is different. It's pieced differently. So when we were putting it together, I just decided which pieced band for the buttonholes I liked more. So I decided to put it over. And then these buttons are fun. You said they're vintage from LA or something. Really cool.
Yeah.
So,
But you
and
used different buttons, which I thought was really
I did.
clever.
So I have 3 buttons, my sleeve buttons, and this one there, just blue.
Yeah, these are blue glass, vintage also. We were at home, so we didn't have access to the button collection that we have here. So I went into my own stash, which is pretty much vintage buttons. And these are old metal silver buttons, and then I didn't have enough, so mixed it with the blue glass buttons for the collar and the 2 cuffs.
We also had a pretty even amount of votes.
Oh.
For Alex.
I'm going to have to
How
tally.
nice of you
I'm
all.
going to have to tally up all your votes to just make sure I didn't win.
Might have to double check. And they want the pattern. So
Okay,
this
well, cool.
top.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll work on this.
You guys seem to like the pattern of Linda's.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I was happy with it, you know. I'm not always happy with what I sew, which I'm sure you all can relate to.
Did you guys use interfacing, and what kind?
Did we use interfacing and what kind? Yes.
We use the Japanese ultra sheer interfacing. You use it in both of your collars. I use it in one of mine.
And I also used it in the cuff and the placket.
Right. And I use interfacing in my placket as well. Yeah. That's the interfacing we use all the time. It's the best interfacing. We've used it for years. It's the best interfacing I've ever used in my life.
When joining fabrics in a non-traditional way, what seam allowance do you use, and how do you finish the seams?
When joining fabrics in a non-traditional way, how do you join the seams?
We used the same seam finish for both shirts here. We sewed the seam at 5/8 of an inch, allowed 5/8 inch seam allowances, and then finished the seams together with a 3-thread serge stitch formation. We used isocord thread for the serging. And then the seams are pressed one direction towards the back.
Nancy didn't really ask this question, but it kind of brings up a good question. She says she has trouble getting the Florence sleeve to fit without huge folds of fabric in the front. How would you remedy that?
Yes, well, we commented about that, remember? because there is a fair amount of ease in that sleeve. But if you sew that 5mm length basting stitch on the seam line, not in the seam allowance, but on the seam line, and then draw that up and shape it and steam it to get some of the fullness out of it over the ham, then when you pin it and roll it over your finger, you're just building in that ease. And you can see that these went in really smoothly. And there was more ease in the front than the back, you're right. So, but if you just take that special care to pre-shape, pre-shrink, and build in the ease over your finger, it'll work.
In that anatomy of a sleeve tutorial.
Yes, that shows how to do that.
Can you both turn around and show the back of your garment?
Sure.
Quite a few comments about how you guys are upping your design game. Everybody is just loving these shirts. So.
I know this was kind of next level. It was fun.
It was fun. I was glad that you and Samantha came up with this idea, and I like to have an idea thrown at me. Actually, you know, I don't always like to have to think of my own thing. It was fun.
And I know Samantha wanted to make one too. So Samantha, anytime you want to make it,
yeah,
we'll show it anytime. But
Samantha was on vacation, so we didn't bother her.
Betsy, did you place the back band at your waist?
Well, I'm assuming this is Betsy's waist. She can probably answer that, but the question was the band placed at Betsy's waist? And I suspect that it was, knowing Betsy. This band is about 2.5 inches wide, and it's shorter, of course, than the width of the back, and then it's just attached by machine right at the side seams. It's a finished band, two-sided finished band. This is interesting. I just noticed this. One side of the band is vertical, and one side is horizontal, and she's chosen the horizontal stripe to give it a little bit of a contrast to the back, which I think is really cool. Betsy's really great about converting our patterns into dresses. She wears a lot of dresses, so does Samantha. Both of them are just fantastic at converting our patterns.
So the black and white stripe that we have, the website says navy and white. And I think, is that the fabric where it is actually navy and white, but it reads as black and white? Get closer.
I don't know. It looks black to me, but it could be navy, I suppose. What do you think?
That's as close as
I know
black and navy as I can see.
Use it for both.
Yeah.
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 Hey, everybody loves all the inspiration today. What would you put with the orange?
What would you put with the orange? All right. Yeah, all of that right there. And this is fantastic with the orange. Look at that. So you could do this, 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 and this.
You can use everything.
I know. I mean, this goes with literally every fabric. Mm-hmm. It has the greens, the oranges, pinks, the blues, peach, aqua.
Well, and if you think about it too, like just getting a lot of different fabrics, you might not know or be familiar with how to mix these types of prints, but like what I did on this placket, you can just piece things together if it's just a little pop of something, so
right.
That's what makes it fun too.
I think if you fold your fabrics and kind of put them on the floor or on a table and kind of stand back and you can kind of squint at them, and something will pop out as being wrong. You'll realize, oh, that has to go away. So you can begin to edit. It's always a good idea to have a few extra, and then you can edit.
You'll definitely need a lot of fabric for your tab and,
yeah.
you know, mixing up little tabs. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and stuff.
This is the one fabric we don't have any more of, I realized after I'd made it. So this is the
But
only
the
one.
replacement of it is kind of this whiter,
Yes, exactly.
whiter, more blue
Right.
version.
Back to the interfacing conversation. Do you use just a single layer of the Japanese interfacing?
We just use a single layer of the Japanese fusible interfacing. Right. And it's a fusible, it's a tricot, so it's stretchy, and it's real sheer. So the way we did this kind of two different ways. I think you cut your interfacing separately and put it on. And you hold the iron over the interfacing and steam it, and you kind of watch it shrink up just a little bit. So you do your shrinking of your interfacing on the application. Then once you see that it stops shrinking a little bit, then you put the iron down. Now for this collar, I actually identified a piece, an area of my fabric, and I fused a larger piece of interfacing to my fabric before I cut the collar out, and then I cut the collar out so I was able to cut out my interfaced collar.
There was a question about the fabric that Betsy used. She didn't see it listed on the sale pages. We have quite a bit of that, don't we?
We have a lot of this,
Okay.
and it's 42621-4.
Okay. I wonder if we can check on that.
Yeah, we can check on that. It should be on sale this week. Yeah,
Maybe Betsy can just post a link.
yeah.
Okay. I don't see any other questions.
All right. Well, we have a lot of things on sale today. So pattern-wise, Florence, whistles, which is the bells and whistles, Hibiscus, and then we have the two classes, the Hibiscus class, start to finish how to make the hibiscus, start to finish how to make the whistles, and then the shirt kits, the Hibiscus shirt kits and the Hibiscus and the whistles kit. Was that clear? It felt really not clear when I said it.
Visually,
So
we have this kit.
we have these three kits on sale, and the Hibiscus pattern, the whistles pattern, the Florence pattern.
And these all go with the online workshops that are also for sale.
Yes, exactly. All right, so then we have 4 tutorials. We have the collar and stand, 2 different ways of putting on a collar and stand. Anatomy of a sleeve, that's when you learn how to set in a sleeve and get rid of that ease in the front, as we talked about. The 5 narrow hems, so this is one of them, the shirt tail, handkerchief hem, and sleeve plackets. There are 2 or 3 different methods of applying a sleeve placket. 2 different styles, 2 or 3 different ways of doing it. So lots on, and of course all the fabrics that we've talked about. So that's our sale this week. It's a big sale, big June sale.
Big shirt sale.
Yeah, big shirt sale. All right, well, you were great. I think your shirt turned out incredibly.
Better than yours. That's what you were going to say.
Yes, it is. It's a lot better than mine.
I couldn't have made it without you, Mom.
Well, I don't know. You got quite a ways, and then you got a little hung up here and there. But yeah, you did a good job. I think your shirt looks great. So we had a good time. It was fun. And you're going to be gone next week, so I'll have to do this without you, I guess. All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.